Welcome back to the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby with our good friends at Vodafone. Alma's still not here, so which means we've done an all right job. Scaz and I have been invited back, and we're going to intro our very special guest today. So she is the most capped female match official, the world's first professional female referee back in 2016. She's an absolute trailblazer. She's been in the middle of some massive games over the years, including the Olympic final in Tokyo. She's getting a bit shy about this intro as well. She was the first woman to referee a men's Prem game. She was part of the first all-female team to officiate a men's test match. Very, very big intro indeed, but most importantly, she's actually binned off her own podcast to be here today.
And we're going straight in with that one.
We're going to get into the name of that. Two cocks and a locks.
No, two locks and a cox.
I was doing
Good
so
start.
well.
Good start. This was
I was
great.
doing so well.
I can't believe they booked us for a double week. No,
This is
Elma, 2 weeks in a
fantastic.
row.
But there we are.
You have one job.
And here you are.
Yes, here I am.
The
Here I am.
well-known referee Sara Cox. Welcome to the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby.
Thank you very much for having me on. And yes, you are correct. I have binned off my own podcast to come here, and I've not told them that I'm doing that either.
That's the best bit.
It
It's one
is.
thing binning them off, but two...
Yeah, I told a little porky,
Yeah.
a little white lie, and said that I'd be on a train. But
You
I'm
were
not.
technically on a train.
Technically, I was, but my travel this morning, I tried to limit the amount of trains that I needed to be on. So I'm a little country bumpkin. I don't like London, and I panic. And I was stood on the train platform panicking about what train I should be on. And I honestly,
I feel your pain entirely.
Right. Sorry, I'm going to have to stop you there because you two can talk about how difficult London is and the trains that
This
we need
could
to
be
get
the
on, but-
podcast, actually, if you want it to be.
oh, 100%, 100%. What is this world?
Yeah.
Honestly, like the amount of people, and like I'm apologising to people getting on this train. I was like, excuse me, sorry,
They
pardon
won't
me.
hear you because they got their headphones in.
Yeah, I couldn't have my headphones in case I missed one of the
Announcements.
announcements. Yes,
No one listens to those.
I do. I need to know exactly where I'm going, and I get off at Vauxhall, and no joke, I walk out of the train station. And I was like, God alive, where am I going? Put it in my little sat nav. I honestly went
What do you
through
mean by sat nav? You mean your phone,
Sorry,
right?
guys. Sorry.
I'm showing my age now,
I
aren't I?
genuinely, I feel like
like
I've
a
had-
tom-tom.
yeah.
I feel like I've gone back to 1970 and I just
You have come
I
back
feel
with
like
us.
I'm having an out-of-body experience
Yeah.
Welcome, though.
with
It's
one
good to have you
locks
here.
and a cox, and I'm just confused.
Yeah, no. So I put it in my sat nav, my little tom-tom. Off I went. It took me through a jungle. I no joke. There were palm trees. I was like, where am I? Like I must be hallucinating. I am honestly down the back end of somewhere, and it tells me to walk through the buildings. And I was like, I'm sorry.
I think
like,
you're doing it wrong.
I think I was doing it wrong. I was like, I can't go under, I can't go over, so I've got to go through. And I honestly,
There's a song there, isn't there?
yes,
It's a book. It's not a song.
It's a child's book.
No, I
isn't
think
it?
it's been made into a song.
Can you sing it?
No, don't do that.
Not appropriate.
Can you try?
Nope. So I managed to catch a glimpse that there was a guy walking next to me that looked like he knew what he was doing. And I watched him and he disappeared into the corner of this building. I thought, right, I'm either going to follow him into his house or I'm going to get out the other side of this building. I walked through the middle of it and you come out and you pop out the other side and you're back to civilization. And I was like, it was like
It's
something like
genuinely
Narnia or something. Honestly, I come out the other side. I was like, I'm not doing this again. I'm sorry, girls. I was like, not coming
Wow.
up here
Well,
again.
we're so glad you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to sit down and have a coffee
And you
after
seem
that.
relatively unscathed.
I think
I was
so.
worried that we'd struggle with what to talk about today, but I'm not worried
It's
anymore.
me. It's me. I can talk the arse end of a donkey
I was
off
going to
like
say. And we've also known each other a fair old while.
a
haven't
very
we,
long time,
through the
isn't
years.
it? Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you came across Coxy? Because I do.
Oh,
Go
God.
on, you go.
Well,
I remember the first time I came across you.
we played together.
That's
a bit of spice.
no, this is not in a refereeing capacity.
No, that's how we first met. We
Yeah.
were playing together. It was when you were still playing.
I don't know where you think you're going with this. Carry on.
What,
we were
me?
playing, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, do you remember meeting me?
No.
Yeah.
Why? What did you do?
No, nothing.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me you
No,
did
no, no,
something.
no.
Yes, I do remember. And you burnt me on the wing, and that was the end of my England career. That was the end of that. I was like, well, that's not going to work
Are you
out.
genuinely saying that I'm the reason you became a referee?
What, you're claiming that?
If
are
so,
you?
you're welcome,
Yeah.
Coxy.
I was like, I wonder. No, no. Yeah, we were at one of the England trials at
Is it
Haythrop
performance
Park.
camp thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever they used to call them.
Yeah, in the very short period of time that I tried to trial for England, and tried 3 times, and they say third time's lucky, but it really wasn't for me. So I led on the pitch at Haythrop Park thinking, what on earth am I doing?
Was that the moment?
Yeah. And I knew my mum was on the sideline as well, bless her. And I must have been about 16, 17 at the time. And I just led there and I was like, what am I doing? I was like, I'm never going to make it. She'd burnt me on the wing. I got a mouthful of bloody mud. My shin hurts because someone's kicked me and someone else landed on me and my chest hurts. So I was like, what is this sport?
So genuinely, sorry Mo, genuinely prior to that, you hadn't thought about refereeing, or you had?
No.
So and then what? You just try and look at other ways to be involved in the game?
Yeah, so I looked at coaching and I thought to myself, like, I can't manage myself at the moment because I'm so young. I don't know where I'm going with life. So how can I then try and coach someone and tell them about how they could do the same thing? So I was
what
like,
age were you when this was all happening?
about 17, 16,
That's quite
17.
young to
yeah,
be having
really
thoughts
young.
like that.
That's
So
why
carry
my
on.
mum was with me, because I had to be chaperoned.
She couldn't drive. She couldn't drive.
No, I couldn't. It gets worse as well. I'll tell you some other stories about me mum having to come.
Sorry, but that's tough. You're having all these thoughts as a 16, 17-year-old about making it. So was playing like for your country or doing that, was that always a massive goal of yours?
No, so I look back now and I think to myself, in reality, no, it wasn't. I didn't have the heart for it. I didn't have the want to keep going. And when they started introducing sort of more and more around like nutrition, around your training and things like that, and I thought, Christ, like, I don't really want to be involved in that. And I'd actually gone through that same process already with golf. So I was actually set to go and do the professional side of golf as well. I'm a boring old fart.
How do we know that?
Do you not know
this?
this?
No.
Yeah, can we play sometime?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can't guarantee where the ball's going to go these days. I spend more time getting it back off some other fairway than I
can't
do.
speak for Mo, but I haven't got a bloody clue either.
Oh no,
Mo's former county golfer. Yeah.
Behave.
It's one of the only things I can beat Scaz at in life. Sport wise.
Yeah,
obviously.
okay.
Normal life.
Obviously. Yeah.
Normal life is a bit of
Just winning. Well, Christ. Oh my God.
No.
What am I entered into here?
No, sorry. But we actually played, I know it's not about us, it's all about you, but just one story.
No, please do.
We played table tennis when we were under 20 camp, one of the first times that we actually became like
We
proper
must have told
besties.
this story before.
I don't think we have. And Scaz would always beat me by like 1 or 2. It'd be all right rally, and then all of a sudden she'd just like, I'd get in my own head classic, and she'd end up beating me by 1 or 2. And then one game she played me left-handed, and then halfway through the game she was beating me, and then she told me, oh, do you want me to change hands now? And I thought, right.
What an arsehole.
Yeah.
You cow.
What an arsehole.
Yeah.
But she just beats me
I
at
do
everything.
think that makes it sound very insensitive the way I did it. I think there would have been it would have been done differently, as we all know with Mo's storytelling anyway.
Yeah.
But the premise is
Hey,
the
look,
same.
why don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, mate.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Here,
it.
there.
So I went through the system of golf, and
Class.
all the way through sort of school and stuff. I was doing golfing competitions and was sort of set on a path to sort of start looking at America and moving out to there and sort of, start doing that sort of stuff. And then it came to a bit of a crossroads, and it was like, well, I'm getting deeper and deeper into this golf that it's actually becoming more and more unpleasant for me. They're asking me to do 200 putts every morning and 200 putts every evening on your carpet and things like that. And I was just like, sod this. I really don't want to do this. And it was one of those where I was like, I either get my GCSEs or I put all my eggs in one basket and go for this America thing, go for the golf and see what happens. And it was at a time where female golfers were not really a thing. It was starting to gather a little bit of momentum. And I went, I'm going to get my GCSEs because I need something to fall back on. And I am not the most academically switched on of people. So I sort of went through school sort of dragging my ass through it. Managed to get GCSEs when they told me that I wouldn't, and then managed to get A-levels when they told me I wouldn't. So
Get it, girl.
Yeah. So I was a bit like, do you know what? I'm going to get all these qualifications so that if this goes wrong, I've got something to fall back on. God only knows how I had this thought process at the age of like 14.
Really
Like honestly,
switched on as a kid, eh?
yeah, I think I'm actually going backwards because I get to now and my decision making is terrible compared to what it was then.
Where's your mum? Get her involved.
Honestly, you'd love my mum. She's a little ray of sunshine. She's brilliant. So I was like, right, I'm gonna ditch off the golf thing. And my poor dad, like, I think he had
Shout out all his dreams.
Oh, I did, yeah. And he shed a little tear as he saw like the nice house, the Porsche go off the driveway. He was like, and he just grimaced at me and was like, good luck. So then I turned around and was like, wow, I want to play rugby. And he was like, oh God.
Yeah.
So it just got worse and worse for him. And then fast forward, I sort of started playing rugby and stuff. So that's how we end up then at the same crossroads again with rugby. So I'd sort of lived that already with golf stuff. And I was like, my heart is not in this. So let's have a look at what else I can do. So I was like, oh, I'll have a go at this refereeing lark. I like to shout a lot. I like to be a bit of a nose, like to see what happens. And it just took off.
Class.
And here I am.
For the record, what position did you play?
I was out on the wing. Then I danced around at 10. And then I sort of had a go at 9. I was like, I was like, no, thank you. I was like,
why did you hate it?
Because you do a lot of running. You do a lot of
Do you
running.
not run more as a ref than you would at...
I didn't know that at the time. I got in it for the stash and the boots. And when I started, they got rid of all the stash and the boots.
What, Gilbert?
Hey, look.
Scaz.
Hey, look, don't you...
Scazzy das.
Yeah.
Simmer down over
Sorry,
there.
it's just because she's getting really excited about it.
Listen, you leave Gilbert out of this.
Yeah.
And and A6 boots that were like slippers. Like those hockey ones that nobody wears. I have to wear them now because I've got plans for
Maybe that's why you got skinned, if you didn't have any studs in the bottom.
No, I had proper boots back then. Yeah, flip neck. Like
I was giving you an out, mate.
No, I'm going to bury myself on that one, don't worry. So then here I am sat with you guys.
Isn't that mental?
Yeah, absolutely bonkers. Because I honestly started it just for a laugh and just to keep involved in the game and keep me fit. And then one year it just took off.
Because at what point did you become professional? Because you must have done it for quite a long time whilst doing other things.
Oh, yeah.
Until you were obviously given that professional status.
Yeah, so I had a normal, if you like, 9-to-5 job.
What was it?
I was actually a marketing executive. I went into
posh. Decent.
It does, doesn't it?
Considering you can't work a train line, I'm impressed.
Excuse me. I can work the train line. It just comes with a lot of panic. No, so I was it was just a normal job. I went into a recycling company down in Exeter. Went in as the MD's PA. When I started organising his desk and organising his diary, he realised he really didn't want a PA and he didn't need that organisation in his life. And he basically told me to bugger off into the business and find something else to do. So the sales and marketing director took me under his wing and off I went. And I was balancing that. So at one point, I think I took 75 days unpaid leave.
Oh,
yeah. On top of then my 25 days that I was given as holiday.
And you took all your holiday as refereeing time as well, yeah.
And what level of refereeing was that at that point?
That was when I started to drop into the sevens and started to do a few internationals. And then, effectively, that was sort of when it started to sort of get some momentum. And I went back to my MD and I said, look, I'm a budget issue for your business because I'm not here. Like I'm wasting your money, if you like. And he said, Coxy, don't worry about it. I'm more than happy with what you're up to. He said, you'd only kick yourself in 10 years time if you didn't crack on and do it. And then roll forward a little bit more. We sort of dogged that out a little bit for a couple of years, and then 2016 rolled around and the RFU dropped a contract on my lap and said, look, and I think it's got quite a lot to do with sort of spending time with the sevens when I was in quite a lot.
Yeah.
And
so you were still employed full time when you were coming in with us?
Yeah, I was taking holiday.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I think I sort of chatting to Mids and stuff, and he was quite an advocate for the stuff that I was up to. And he supported me quite a lot in the background. And the RFU dumped a contract in my lap, and I went back to my boss and I said, look, your business is taking off. I'd like to stay involved with it, but they've offered me this contract. Like, what do you think? And he said, Coxy, if you don't take this contract, I'm going to fire you anyway. So,
Jeez, he sounds like a right good bloke.
Oh, he's brilliant. Honestly, I still keep in touch with him now. And he said, if you don't take this now, in 10, 20 years' time, you will kick yourself for never having had a go. And he said, even if it doesn't work out, come and knock on the door and I will find you something. It might not be what you want. And honestly, in that business, I did everything. I've been out on landfill sites. I've been out in, like, honestly, I look like at one point I went out on the site and I had this brand new set of like high vis. And it, honestly, it was
You
yellow.
still got it?
No, I haven't. I look like a highlighter pen. Honestly, I was the only one
Very
there
strong.
that had all this gear on. I had all the gear and not a Scooby-Doo what I was up
Brilliant.
to. So yeah, so like he went, crack on, love, like we'll support you all the way, and he still does now.
And don't put figures attached to this, but obviously when we first got given professional contracts, they were a far flung away thing from what they are now. Was that the same with you, or because there were male referees, you went in? No,
I was in
similar.
on absolute peanuts.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough that in the sense that it matched what I was already on, which was quite low anyway, just because of where I was in my career.
Yeah.
So it didn't make too much of a difference. But it's taken a little while to sort of keep sort of taking chunks out of that, if you like, and getting to where we are now.
100%. What does your week look like now?
Oh, my weeks now. It depends what we're up to be honest. It's been quite busy, obviously, with the lead up to the Men's Six Nations and stuff. But a lot of it is review stuff, a lot of it is paperwork, and a lot of it is catching up on the stuff that you miss out on the weekend as well.
As in, if you're involved in a game, what happens elsewhere?
Yeah. So what happens elsewhere? So we were in yesterday as a professional group. So
When you say in?
So in Twickenham.
Right.
So we come up, we train, we sit down and we go through clips from the weekend. So you'll do all your game review stuff, and then you'll clip out moments in the game that you want to discuss with the team. So I had a couple from the weekend that it's a bit squiffy in law, if you like, and you just wonder this grey area of law, what we would do as a group of us, and then you agree an outcome and you know what you're doing next. Or sometimes it's just holding your hands up and saying, I really stuffed that up. What should I do next time?
Sorry, that's fascinating. So how many of you are in this room?
So yesterday was only half the group, so there was 5 of us in.
Okay, so potentially 10 of you. And how many of you would have a grey area off the back of the weekend?
Probably about 90% of us.
90, and just one grey area game, or there might be more?
There could be 4 or 5. There was
That's
4 in
mad,
one of the
isn't it?
games, yeah.
That is mad.
Honestly, it's and this is the thing is there's so much that goes on in behind the scenes. It's like refereeing is a little bit of an art form, because if I applied the laws to all of the things that you guys do as players, we'd be 40-50 penalties and we wouldn't have a game, and I'd
Mo would
kill.
be pinged off the park, wouldn't she?
Oh yeah,
Me?
100%. Yeah, why not?
Don't get involved in any breakdown or anything.
No, Mo just whispers at me now. When Mo,
Absolute offence.
We
of
can
that.
talk about. We can talk
we'll
about
talk
the
about
the
that.
There'll be a whole
relationship.
section
Yeah,
itself,
yeah.
don't worry.
Yeah,
don't worry.
exactly.
That's got its own bit.
I don't know if we've got enough time for that. But so we will do things to work out how we can connect into the game, so that you guys as players know what we're doing and it's fair for the game, but also what punters understand, because ultimately they're the stakeholders that really pay for everybody's wages. For the players, for us, without crowds, you don't have the game that we've got on the field at a professional level. So we do a lot around basically tweaking that art form and working out how we can do things differently, how we can work with that game to get the best outcomes that's fair for everybody.
So it's basically about finding consistency.
Yep.
And also almost having the least impact.
Basically,
Is that fair?
yeah. If I come off a
Albeit
pitch,
some decisions obviously have a huge impact, but actually
For sure.
the
Premise.
intention
Yeah.
is to have the least.
yeah, and also the intention is so that you guys can follow what we're doing. Because there's nothing worse as a referee that you are on page 94 and everyone else is on page 15. And you've got this complete disconnect from everyone then. So what we try and do is align ourselves as much as we can as a group so that you can see what we're doing. And that big word consistency gets battered around a lot, and especially in our world, we just want referees to be consistent. Well, you can't, because we're human beings. So you're relying on the subjectivity of what I see through my eyes, which might be different to what Luke Pearce sees, what Barnsley might have seen, what Tom Foley sees. Like, so it's difficult to align completely, but what we try and do is get as close as possible so that we all follow the same storyline.
And also, everything all those people are looking at is never the exact same.
No.
So like you think of a breakdown, which is the classic example. There's arguably almost never ever two that are exactly the same. No. So there's a million differences there, plus the subjectivity of different people.
Yeah,
carnage.
I've got hundreds and hundreds of decisions to make per game, and you know, you look at we have stats as well, so we've got a whole platform that we work from.
What would that entail? Sorry,
what stat wise?
Yeah.
So we'll look at things like non-decisions. So those are decisions that I haven't made.
Yeah.
So something I might have missed or something.
So as in, things that you genuinely have missed, not things you've seen and thought that's not going to have an impact. I'm not calling it. Both.
Yep, both. So non-decisions tend to get categorised as it's a non-decision, so you probably missed it, and we probably want you to do something about it.
Fine.
Errors, so where I've blown something that's wrong. High impact decisions, where they're exactly what they sound like, where I've changed something like a score of a game, I've made a mistake, it's quite high impact. Then we'll look at sort of ball in play time. So we're looking at sort of what happens, and which is really interesting that the women's game has a higher ball in play time at the moment than the men's game does, which I find really interesting. And then we'll look at scrums, line outs, all these things, and they all get categorised the same for what you guys would. We'd just look at them from a refereeing angle. And then we'd go through all of that basically, and we'd sort of pick out the things that we want to talk about, the things that we would want to change, which we might not want to change, and then we'll discuss all of that type of stuff with the group, again to try and get that alignment side of things.
And do you come to a consensus as a group, or do you have the
top guy,
head of refereeing?
Yeah. Sometimes, you're right.
The head teacher as such.
Yeah.
So like you guys discuss it, can't come to a decision, and therefore they're like, no, because there's
pretty much
inevitably it's not black and white, is it?
No,
there's
not at all.
This is right, this is wrong.
Yeah.
There's a whole spectrum in between. What are you laughing at?
The head teacher as such. Sorry, it just tickled me.
He's not quite a head teacher, but he was a teacher. So we do have someone that sits at the top that manages us all. But he tends to let us fight it out as a group. And honestly, sometimes you can split the room 50-50 with a decision. Oh my God. The amount of arguments we've had about stuff, the amount of sort of huffing and puffing that you'll have, because we're basically fighting it out and working out what's going on. And then you get all the armchair referees that are sat in their cosy sort of sofas saying, well, that's an awful... Well, no,
I'm pointing at Mo.
Well, to be
I'm
fair,
actually a big advocate for referees, and I hope you back me up on this.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just an easy dig, isn't it? It's easy.
Yeah. To be fair, yes, but Mo tends to do a lot of her feedback on the pitch.
Yes, so true.
Not off it.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's instant feedback.
Yeah. Like it's like a hot
do you
review.
know the one that gets me? The one that gets me is when the scrum collapses, especially when we play at the Al Pass at Hartbury Arena, and the scrum collapses, and they say reset, and I say, judging by the mud on her face, I'd suggest that she's hit the ground.
Is that what you
first.
say?
Yeah.
Honestly, she does. It's so true.
But that is true, isn't it? If her face is absolutely covered in mud.
How many times have you stuck your head in a scrum?
Yeah, I haven't.
Exactly. Exactly. I had a player say that to me once. I said to one of the front rowers, I said, you're going to have to get your feet underneath you and you need to get higher. He said, with all due respect, Mum, how many times have you stuck your head in a scrum? I said, that's a very good point. I said, I'm just telling you what I think should be happening. And he said, I'm absolutely bollocks. Just give me 5 minutes and I'll sort it out.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Can't fault the honesty.
Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah,
sorry, do what you want.
Do you enjoy those conversations, like the in-game?
I do.
Yeah,
I do, and my personality sort of feeds into that, and sometimes my personality sort of gets away from me, and I sort of engage probably a little bit too much. So I'm learning that as well.
Is that part of stuff you'd get feedback on?
Yeah. So there's sort of, I was I sort of seek conversation sometimes, so I'll wander around and like someone will catch my eye, so I end up having a conversation. Whereas sometimes you just need to create space for yourself, because you got to imagine, like, I got lots of things running through my head. I've got lots of things that are going on, and I've got to concentrate a little bit. And sometimes I'm stood there having a natter with someone, which is not ideal. So I got to come back on script a little bit.
But it's also nice to build up that rapport and relationship with players and people, isn't it?
I feel that's really important, because I went through a lot of my sort of very early days being quite officious and being quite sort of down the line, stampy feet. Yeah, you can remember those days.
What does officious mean?
Quite like, it's I'm boss here.
I'm the ref.
Yeah, like alpha female.
You
dictator
have
vibes.
changed, I'd say.
Yeah,
100%.
100%. And it took me a long time to realise that, and I wish I'd realised it a lot longer before, because I think I'd have really projected my career a lot further, a lot quicker. And I think some of that comes down to being the only female floating around at the time as well, especially in my society days, like with the community level stuff. You almost feel like you're out there to prove a point, well, I can do it.
Do you think that's having a big impact on you?
Oh, huge.
Do you?
Huge, yeah, massive. And it's been tough. Like, honestly, somebody said to me, what's it like being the first person to do stuff? And the only thing that I could liken it to at times is it's like walking through a patch of stinging nettles.
I really like this analogy.
Yeah. So if you're the first person to walk through a patch of stinging nettles, you're going to get stung. But the person behind you that walks that same path won't get stung the same as you. And so it's a little bit like that at times. And you get to a point where you're breaking sort of glass ceilings, and people are like, this is fantastic. And you think, I'm exhausted from doing this, because there's so much that you've got to get through. And so I felt for a very long time, I still do, to be honest, I still do feel like I've got to prove myself and prove that I can keep up with play. I can sort of referee the same as what other people can.
Specifically in the men's game? Or
full stop? And in the women's game as well. Because obviously, the women's game has been catapulted, especially from when we first started. And so you're sort of trying to make sure that you keep up with that as well, because there's nothing worse where you're behind and everything else is getting away from you, thinking, hang on a minute, like, I've got to make sure that I'm doing the best for this game. So early on, like, I felt like I was sort of scrambling around for proving that I can do it. And so that's where the officious sort of came from. And it's a little bit a part of my personality, is that I come across as very, very confident, very sort of outspoken. And whereas deep down inside, sometimes like I'm a massive melt and I panic about what people think. And I can't get on a train in London without panicking.
Would you do, because we say like, excuse me, in our obviously team environment, we do personality, not tests, but we'd figure out where we sit, insights and all that sort of stuff. Would you do that as a refereeing team as well, to try and learn about each other? Because obviously you have to work as a team of 3 or 4 on a weekend, train alongside each other, etc. To help understand how each other would react in those circumstances. Yeah,
so we do a little bit of that. We have a lot of non-full-time, what we call as non-full-timers, which means that they're people that have jobs outside of rugby. And working with them, it's very difficult in the week to sort of connect in with them. So I'm not always working with the full-time referees. So the likes of like Tom, Luke, Matt, Carl, the guys that have come back from the World Cup, we're not working with them very often because they tend to be in the middle as well. So the people that surround us more often than not are not employed by the RFU. They're actually people that do it because they love doing it. I know it's honestly, it's baffling, especially as well when we go out to Europe. Like, these people commit their lives to this. For a little bit of recompense, and that's about it, to be honest. They just love doing it.
Sorry, I want to touch on, I'm going to jump back a bit. So you're obviously trailblazer for women in this country, and I don't know if you know the impact that you have, but we've got Emily
skid marks than trailblazers, to be honest.
Skid marks. Sarah. We have Emily Hope at our uni, who's
Emily.
Up and coming referee. She was beside herself when you were there before to referee, and when I know I asked you for a photo of her, she was just absolutely buzzing to have it. How much of an impact do people like Joy Neville, Hollie, Davidson and that have on you, or have had on you in your career? Or do you, like, is there an impact there, or do you just see it as like you guys all on the same level playing field and you just help each other?
No, absolutely huge. And I've probably never told the two of them, and the three of them, probably with Aimee Barrett as well. They have a huge impact, and I massively look up to those girls. I learn a lot from them and a lot from how they conduct themselves in different ways. And, you know, you sort of go through sort of, I guess, like smashing these glass ceilings, if you like walking through these stinging needles, however you want to put it. But at points that stops, and then someone else takes over. So I took over from the likes of Claire Hodnett, Claire Daniels in this country. And then I sort of carried that on. And then I've sort of stopped here because I've not broken into that Six Nations sort of arena where Hollie has. And we sort of leave Hollie here, if you like, because she's now going on to create a path that we haven't walked before. And I hugely look up to them, because without Joy getting the opportunity she got when she did that World Cup final out in Ireland, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I've been able to do in the Premiership, because it wouldn't have opened people's eyes. It wouldn't have forced the hands of certain people to make things happen. So Joy had a knock-on effect. Aimee Barrett, some of the things that she's had to go through with her sort of union and things like that, if she hasn't gone through that, I can't keep the ball rolling my side. And so now that Hollie's taken over, like it's huge for the game. It's huge for females. And like, I'm just like, well done, girl. Like, Jesus Christ, like, it's amazing.
How much do you like compete with each other versus like how much you're just in each other's corner, like going for it?
So we pretend we compete against each other, but we're all in each other's corner.
But you're massive males.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, we're the most competitive beings. If you watch us play touch rugby, there is no refereeing us.
I would love to.
Honestly.
Get Mo to come and ref that.
I would
yes,
love to.
Yes, 100%.
I would do that.
100%, because you will end up. You'll end up in a fist fight. You'll end up brawling.
Get me some Gilbert shorts, pair of Asics, bright yellow top. I'll be there.
Honestly,
I'll even wear your high vis. I would do that for you.
Do you know what? I've got the perfect
Eyebrows.
outfit for you.
Eyebrows.
I've got the perfect outfit.
Eyebrows, grow up.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So I really want to talk to you. You just touched on it in terms of obviously some of the girls trailblazing, Hollie, what she's doing, etc. Obviously, she just reffed the most recent World Cup final.
Yes.
I am fascinated by. And
Can I just say, just on this World Cup final, I've always wanted to spray a bottle of champagne, and I saw my moment when she did that World Cup final. I come bowling into
before or after.
After.
Just making sure.
Yeah, no, yeah. You don't go out there
stings when it gets in your eyes. Yeah.
And I saw my opportunity, and from the corner of this changing room, the poor girls just come in. I was like, boom! I covered everyone.
Was she ready for it, or was she still like taking it all in?
No, the poor girl was trying to
decompress.
Yeah. There's me with a bottle of champagne in the corner spraying everyone. I was like, thank you, I've satisfied that. That was my one tick. Yep.
Sorry, how did that land?
Well, thankfully.
It was, yeah.
Because
Good.
there are some things that I do to those poor girls that do not land well. I know you've heard about some of my court sessions as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's another story.
Can you go into it? While we're on it, let's go into it.
My 5-hour court session.
Yeah.
5 hours?
5 hours.
No, Coxy, that's too much.
I know that. I was in too deep. I had to keep going.
There's only 5 referees on
tour.
tour.
This was look, you're looking at me stunned. Come with me on this journey. 5 hours. Right. So
set the scene. Where are we?
So we're in the World Cup. We've finished the whole World Cup.
So this is post.
Yeah. So
Fine.
we're all clear of everything. We like to do a lot of like team building stuff if we can. We'd had obviously a very long sort of time out there with all the sort of COVID stuff and being out there a bit extra. And I was like, right, I've done no court sessions through these 8 weeks. So I'm going to do one big bugger right at the end. And by
Have you
God,
taken notes the whole way through?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've done 120 slide presentation. I know this sounds bad, right? But you've got to think the amount of people that are in that room. So we've got TMOs, we've got support staff, we've got assistant referees, we've got
Sorry, there was
referees.
A slideshow.
Oh yeah.
Never in my life heard of a court session with a slideshow. That is
Look, I don't do things by
course.
halves. You two should know this.
God,
so
yeah.
I
Go
went
on.
full beans
Take
on
us
it.
through it.
And then yeah, I know. I'm losing my trail of thought. So I put this presentation together. I'd actually found the real law in the sort of criminal law and changed the wording slightly to match the fine that I was giving the referee. So there was a law that attached
You had
itself.
too much time on your hands. How did you have this much time on your hands?
Look, I can find time when I need it.
Coxy's up at 4 a.m. every morning.
Tapping away, asking
Googling
lawyers.
criminal law.
Yeah, I asked Claire Hodnett. She's a solicitor and all sorts of things. Anyway, I did this and I put it all together, and I would also put clips that I'd found on like Instagram and things like that related to the fine that I was giving them. It wasn't the actual person, but I'd sort of say, I found myself CCTV footage, and one of the fines, one of the guys, before they'd seen the video clip, thought it was actual CCTV. I've never seen anybody shit themselves like it, honestly.
Were you wearing a police hat to deliver this?
No, I was in a full judge's outfit. Yeah, with wig and the whole thing. Yeah. So it was me and Julianne Zussman. So I was prosecutor, Julianne was the judge.
Has she been a part of this the whole time, or have you just brought her along for this final?
I kind of dragged her
Did she
along.
have any idea what was about to hit her?
I think she had an idea, but she had not a clue that it was 120 pages long. So the poor girl. So she'd done all the fines that you were going to get, and sort of there were some really good ones in there as well. Some alcohol-based and some not, and some really clever ones that weren't as well. So it was brilliant. And I'm going through this, and I said to Julianne before we went, I was like, we cannot go over an hour and a half. An hour and a half.
Oh my God.
I'm 3 hours in. I haven't even got halfway through. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm losing. But
are you losing people at this point, or there's full engagement?
Well, as far as I could see, there's full engagement, and they tell me different
You
now.
were still having a nice time.
I could see nothing, honestly. And there was full. Like, to be fair to them, I only lost them in the last 10 minutes, and that's probably had more to do with the spirits being handed round than there was my court session. We got through this thing. It was. I don't think I've laughed so much, like so hard as well. We got all of management. I did all the referees, all the ARs, and they only had like 2 fines maximum each, but I got some absolute crackers, and it was brilliant. It was really nice to get everybody in a room, because normally you get people splinter off. People will go sort of off to bed and things like that. I had them all in there, and they were all engaged to about last 10 minutes, and then it was like a raucous little primary school sort of like kids running around. They'd had enough, so I sort of sped it up and we got out. But I have only
sped it up at 4.5 hours.
Yeah, oh God, honestly,
that is impressive.
I know.
Unreal.
I have been told that I'm never allowed to do that again. I had my one shot.
I was about to say, I would love to hear somebody else's version of this.
Well, Hollie touched
From
on
the
it,
other
didn't
side.
she? But yeah, like I was told, they said, we enjoyed it, but don't ever do that again.
But Hollie touched on the pre-World Cup one, didn't she?
The drunk photo.
Yeah, so it was.
What one was that?
So before the World Cup, it was like media day the next day, and apparently you guys, the
All went
referees, had been out that night.
And
apparently there's some, Coxy's giving it the full naive, not got a clue what you're talking about now.
There were 3 people supposedly, allegedly, that turned up to your your team shoot.
And we want to know,
glassy
was it
eyes.
you?
Was it you?
No.
Was it? Do you want to give us names? Because you won't give us names. Gutted. I really banked on that being you.
Honestly, I'll give you the team photo. I think you might be able to spot it. His eyes like
We
this.
did say that. We were like, yeah, I think it'd be easy.
It was fantastic, honestly. There was one of it, and I was like, "Are you two okay?" And they were like, "Mm-hmm." That was it. That was it. It was brilliant.
I bet they made the fines, did they?
Oh, 100%. I had to send
there we
management out for them too. I had to send management out the room. We were doing the fines without management.
Very good.
What, so that you could go a bit off piece and slam them?
Oh yeah, I delved deep on that one.
That's so funny.
Do you want to ask your...
Doubling back to the serious stuff.
I
you're
went
fine.
on a tangent
That's what
there.
the people want to hear about.
Scaz has got a really good question that I heard over breakfast this morning, and also to Shira and then to Kath. So I've heard it 3 times. I think she's even teed you up for the
and
question.
I rang Shira about it.
You're really excited about this question. Go on, Scaz.
That's so horrible.
I mean, I've been asked some random questions in my time.
Obviously, once I'd heard you were coming on, I was trying to
Once I heard, it's your show.
Sorry. Well, once I knew you had confirmed and you wanted to be here, because that's always part of the.
I've given up my own podcast.
You've given up your own podcast to be here. Us as athletes, we can set goals, want to win a World Cup, we want to represent our country, win a Prem title, whatever it might be. And the bit I was thinking about for someone like yourself is that in your entire professional career, if you've set yourself a goal of refereeing a World Cup final, which arguably is the pinnacle and the top of your current profession,
and you buggers get there,
you have no control over it, and you would not have been able to have done it because England have been in the World Cup final since you've been a referee.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And I'm just so interested in, one, do you set goals like that? Because obviously there's a huge amount that you do not have control over.
Yeah, massive amount.
And if yes, or whatever the answer to that question is, like, how do you frame what you go after?
That's a really interesting question and conversation. It's difficult because, like you say, for a very long time I've followed you guys around, and you have been the best. So when it comes to Six Nations, obviously I can't referee the top, so England, France, which is what you'd aspire to. Like, then you get to World Cups, like you say, like you guys are in it, and it's happened with the sevens as well for a long time. So I sort of take myself out of it and go, rather than chasing games, I want to chase sort of things around me. So I want to be able to retire whenever that is and say, I gave 110% to that and I couldn't give any more, because that's what I can control. I can control the training bit, but I can't control what appointments you're going to give me. And especially around World Cups. And to go into that sort of, when you say like you guys got to the World Cup in New Zealand just gone, I sort of had a bit of a moment where I was like, oof, okay, well, I couldn't, because you could be in that arms race for the final, and I couldn't get there because you guys were doing very, very well. And I sort of reflected a little bit, and I actually reflected back on the time that I'd spent with you in camp. And that was my win for me, is that I knew that I'd put something in there to hopefully give you guys the edge. And it sounds really corny, but I learn so much when I'm around you guys and what you're doing in camp, and the way that you conduct yourselves, the way that your professionalism is, and the way that you just operate as a unit. And so I was looking at that and I was like, I actually added something to that. Well, hopefully I added something to that.
100%, by the way.
Yeah, and I come in and I want to give you 100%, so I know that you guys can take something with you. And I watched that World Cup final, and I said that halfway through, I had to go and get a hot dog. I had to go and calm down. Honestly.
Sorry, you calmed down by getting a hot dog.
Yeah, I did.
Sorry.
No, right, no joke.
Oh my God, I've been doing it wrong. I don't calm down by getting a hot dog, and now my life has changed.
Listen, I had to wander off for a bit. I was watching it and I was like, I can't do this, girls. I sat with all the referees.
And then the crispy onions came out.
I was getting baited by the New Zealand referees behind me. I said, I've had enough of this. So I wandered off, and I got a hot dog. I was like, I can't, like, I've got to go and calm down for a little bit.
And two goes.
Two, and then I had some chips after. Honestly, it was horrendous. No, because then I get really invested in it, and I'm really invested in that game. And honestly, I've never been so nervous. I've never been so like, I just wanted to shout. And you've got a certain sort of like, you can't shout too much. Like I can't get too involved in it, because it's a bit weird coming from a referee that's sat in the stands. But I'm so proud of what you guys achieve, and being a part of that journey in whatever way I can be, that actually that's my win. And I did the 3rd, 4th playoff, which that in itself is like, it's great for me. I loved it. And then to come off and then watch you guys in that, like that was my win.
It's so interesting, because I suppose from the outside you'd think actually watching a semi-final you might not support us. Do you know, in the nicest possible way,
for sure.
Because it would then give you an opportunity, like not selfishly, but I guess selfishly, and I would completely understand that. But what you're saying is almost you feel a part of our team in a way, so that if we win, we win.
Yeah,
I think that's
which is very admirable way of looking at it.
Very admirable. I think the thing about that though as well is like, it's so good for us, like especially I think you've helped me so much in terms of like how I communicate with reps, when we communicate, all of that sort of stuff. Like, so for our game, you massively elevate that as well. And I know like the intricacies, and you guys always have things that you're going after. So you being around it, telling us all of that and helping us embed it is huge. And also, I hate playing in camp when we've got a coach reffing, because they can't just got to play.
It's terrible.
They're still
they hover behind
halfway shouting stuff, live breakdown, but don't ref it. I'm like, Come on.
Yeah, but there have been times that I haven't kept up when you're doing them bloody PPP sessions. Freaking heck, when I've had to take a knee and pretend that my shoelaces come undone.
Do you do that?
100%. Have you never seen that?
No, I didn't.
When I go kneel down, it looks like my shoelaces don't come undone very often, and I kneel down and I'm fiddling around with my shoelace. I'm sucking diesel.
It's because
That's
you're on
so funny.
Adidas boots now, not Asics.
No,
Go back to
I'm back in my Asics.
Plantar fasciitis.
Oh yeah, I remember.
No, but it is, and it's awesome to have almost that sounding board.
Yeah.
I know we've had so many conversations, whether it's around an intricacy or whether it's around maybe being in a leadership role. Santa and I know I've had so many conversations with you prior to the World Cup, just around, well, actually, if we speak to you about every single thing, might wind you up rather than actually working together and feeling like we've got a good relationship. So just understanding like what is useful to referees and what isn't, because pecking your head is not useful. No. We all know that, but actually having that sounding board rather than trying to figure it out for ourselves, I think has been super useful.
No, for sure. And I think it's really important that you guys see my mistakes as well. So when I come and stand in your team huddle and say, sorry, I got that wrong, I think that's really important, because I think it humanises for you guys as well that mistakes are going to get made. And so you're used to that. So when you get onto a pitch and you're live, you're in front of 60,000 people, and a mistake is made, because ultimately they do happen, you shrug it off. Like you sort of, you don't need to think about it, and it doesn't become such a big thing. And that's why I feel it's really important that I tell you when I've made a mistake, so that you guys can digest that and almost have it sat in the back of your brain, so it just never becomes an issue to you.
I think it's huge, like that bit of context around, sorry, I might have got that wrong. And then you're like, okay, fine, just bin it and move on. Like, I think also touching on that, have you watched that Whistleblower documentary yet?
Yes.
The massive thing that stood out for me in that was that, I can't remember which ref said it, but mistakes are unforgivable for referees. Yeah. Whereas like as players, no one's ever played a perfect game. No one's had 80 minutes where they've gone and been absolutely exceptional. Not even our Emily, like crazy to think. But as referees, like their point is, as a ref, you can't make a mistake. Like that's unforgivable from all of the crowd and everyone else involved.
Yeah, and we're not humans.
How does that feel? Because that must be such a pressure cooker environment for you.
It's awful. Yeah, you go around and you're seeking the perfect performance anyway for your own sake and for your own sort of want to be better. And then you get your armchair referees, you get your social media, you get your DMs, you get all sorts of things that come around, and you look at a mistake that I made, and you're the worst thing to have ever walked on the planet. And you think, hang on a minute, if I go back over your mistakes as a team, you'll have a lot more than I will. And we do code that as well when we do the sort of performance stuff in the background, where a majority of the time the referees will operate around 90 to 95% accuracy. Tell me what player works around 90 to 95% accuracy. But all people want to talk about is one decision.
Is there a point where you think the abuse is going to outweigh what you get out of the game? Are we getting close to that? Because obviously the Whistleblowers documentary was massive in terms of shining the light on actually what it is to be a referee, but a lot of it was focused towards that. Yeah. Is there a point, do you think we're getting close to that point? Is it something that we need to be really aware of?
If we carry on the way that we are going, yes, there will be a point where people won't want to get involved anymore. Because you've got to think, we're with a generation of people at the moment, but what follows that generation? What comes next? And the more we look at things, the harder it is to say, yeah, this is good to get involved in. Like I came off the Tokyo Olympics and I did the final, and obviously that was hard enough as it was because it was in the middle of COVID. And before I'd even sat down, my phone was on fire. Like absolutely on fire. I looked at it, I was like, that's really weird. The DMs, I had hundreds of DMs that were just telling me that I need to die, that I should never have walked this planet, your mum would be disgraced, your family should be disgraced. I had to go to my parents and say to them, look, I know you follow me on social media, they might come for you. We'd had one with Aimee Barrett as well, she'd had death threats, and it just went on and on and on. And you think, hang on a minute, this was 14 minutes. 14 minutes of when I went back over that game, I made...
Which should be the pinnacle of your career, because that's an Olympic final and something you've worked for.
Yeah, and all it's done is put a massive scar on my back. And you look for 14 minutes, and I went back over the game, and I actually made Conor O'Shea go back over the game as well. And I said, from a coaching point of view, please look back at this and pull up as much as you can out of it. And he turned around and he said, look, I see the one mistake that you've already highlighted. The rest of it, we can sort of argue. Like it's not like nothing in it, basically. So I made one mistake in 14 minutes, and I was the worst thing to have ever walked this planet.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
If you have one thing you can, like, almost the message that comes out of that documentary, or that like people take hold of and grasp hold of and run with, what would it be?
We are human beings. Please stop. We have families. Like, you being a keyboard warrior and telling me how disgraceful I am and that I need to die is not going to help anyone.
Has it pushed you close to thinking about, is it worth it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's pushed me to times, it's pushed me to some dark places. And, you know, refereeing pushes you to some dark places at times. There's a lot of pressure, and people don't realise the pressure that you have to carry. Because ultimately, you know, sometimes in a game you can look up and your face is on the screen. And there's one of two reasons why my face is on the screen. You guys in the background are having a good old chat about who I am and what I'm up to, or you're pulling apart one of my decisions that I've just made. That's normally why I go up on the screen. And that becomes very difficult because you've got to park that, because I've got no idea what you're talking about. I've got no idea what you're up to.
If it's us on comms, we'll be saying nice things by the way.
To be fair to you, there was one time you saved my arse.
No.
I made a boo-boo in
a boo-boo.
A boo-boo. We're going to call it a boo-boo. In one of the Premiership finals in COVID, when we had the COVID laws.
Yeah.
And I allowed...
Yeah, they added them more. They added to them more.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And I didn't realise, and Scaz very kindly just brushed over the top of it. I was just kind of, we'll just move on. And I knew full well she was like, oh, Coxy.
Oopsie.
You've had a nightmare here, love.
But that in itself is so hard, because you've been brought up learning this game, playing this game, refereeing this game, and then for 1 year it's just completely rogue rules where you can't add to them all, but you can do them all, and it's just a quick tap, no scrums, all that sort of stuff.
And I tell you what, when it dawns on you, and I stood back in the centre circle, and we were ready to kick off, and it dawned on me, and I was like, shit.
And then you've got to just move on.
And you've got to park that. Yeah. You've got to park it. And you think, how am I parking it? That's like trying to park an Arctic lorry. It's not going to happen. I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's madness.
What am I supposed to do with it? Yeah.
Crazy. All right. Lastly, before we wrap it up, just why do you love it? Why should young females get into the game? Young referees, why should they do it?
It's difficult because I get asked this question quite a lot. Why do you love it? And I never really know why I love it. I just do. But you do get the best seat in the house. You do get to see some phenomenal bits of rugby. And I think it's about the people that you meet along the way as well. I'd never have met you guys to start with. I'd never have met, you know, Hollie, Aimee, Joy, the girls that are involved in the Six Nations. I've met half the people that I've come across. I've never gone around half the world like I have. So I think it's just about the experiences that it's given me, and it continues to give me. And, you know, I sort of started to mellow with my old age and realise a little bit that actually once this finishes, it stops. That's the end of that. So you've just got to make the most of it now. And I think it's just about I do just enjoy it. And it's just about getting involved in it, and just, you've got to have quite broad shoulders. And it's got to be like water off a duck's back. But you do get to a point where you're like, this is fun. And these last sort of handful of games, especially the Premiership games, I've walked off and it says, I don't care what anybody says to me. I loved every second of that. And you can see it on my face as well.
Love that.
Yeah, so that's the bit for me.
I think from our perspective, I'm not going to speak for you can speak for yourself, but we appreciate you so much in our game. I think you are amazing at what you do, what you've done for us in terms of coming in back from sevens and all the way through, but also to be able to have those conversations. And like, there's a huge amount of respect from everyone in our circle for you, and just thank you for what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
100%.
We couldn't do it without you.
And thank God we don't have to sit through 5 hours of court with you.
No, look, that was once. That's once only. I'm not allowed to do it again.
I reckon we'll be down for it.
I've been told.
We'll be down for it.
Before you leave though, if you just reach behind you in that little cup, we would like to present you with a little...
Oh, a scrunchie. I've seen
Good
these
Scaz.
everywhere.
There we are.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, not everywhere, because you only get one if you sit on our sofa and you grace us with your presence. So
I've graced you.
I
and now
hope
I've
the
got
train
this.
journey was worth it.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank
We
you
really
very much.
appreciate
Thanks, Coxy. Big love to you.
Thank you
Just
very
want
much.
to say,
I think we've
the
done all right.
Oh.
Another one without Elma.
class.
We've only done 3 by ourselves. Fleeto, of just a YOLO about the Lions, and yourself. And we ranked ourselves after the Fleeto one. And it was a bit awkward because I went really low and Mo went really high. So if you could just be impartial and
Doesn't
rate
sound
us.
like us.
Rate you.
Out of 10.
Out
So
of 10.
imagine like if Elma was sat in that chair, it
Yeah.
would have been a 10. It would have been a 10 experience. It would have been smooth. It would have been intelligent. It would have been
Yeah.
steered beautifully. So
Okay.
Mo and I.
I would say this is a good solid 9.
Oh,
I have really enjoyed myself.
Bosh.
Yeah, like
On that
Love
note,
that.
we have been the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby.
sponsored
Sponsored
by
by
Vodafone.
Vodafone. Thank you.
Bosh.
The Good, the Scaz and the Rugby is a fold-in pocket production produced by Shira Kilgallen.